Great.
So
I think, yeah.
so just to come back, right? So for each route, route one would be an 8-month payback period. Route two, there would be a 2 years plus a little bit more payback period. And for route three, we would have a 3 year and 3 months um, ultimate payback period. Um, does that sound correct with you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Great. So looking forward with that, we have each payback period. However, we have to also include the how much it would be first to implement the each flight, right? So we have 3 months for the first route, so that would mean 11 months for the first route. For route two, it'd be 2 months, so ultimately it'd be about 2.25 month, 2 years and maybe 2 years and maybe a couple months on top of that. So it would be 2 years and 3 months about. And finally, with Route 3, a 12-month investment, initial investment cost, that would mean it'd be 4 years and 3 months until we pay back our initial investment because we need to take some time to implement the new routes into our client's route portfolio. So yeah, between that, what initially comes to mind is the quickest payback period. The quickest route to get our payback period would be 11 months for route one. Route three seems like it would take quite a long time, over the 3 year average for the industry. And finally, for route two, 2 years and 3 months within the industry average of 3 years. And so ultimately, I would scratch off route three from our kind of offerings, or kind of consideration for implementing route. And um, with the payback period being shortest for route one. Um, However, there is a not so good the 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 rescheduling. If I can just pull up exhibit 2 really quick about the pros and cons of each route.
Can you let me share the screen?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, let me do that. Sure. Great. That should be okay. Great. So we have some pros and cons of each. So between routes one and two, the potential for growth is low for route one and high for route two. Risk of price coverage is low for route one and high for route two. And competition for route is high for route one and low for route two. And then the times to establish operations are about the, but we thought about the payback period. So pretty much they are exactly opposite in in every each of these aspects, except similar times to establish operations. So from that, there's a couple of takeaways. What does our client value in choosing a new route? Do they want a long-term plan? They want growth to be a big option, then they would look at route two. And do they want to enter a low competition route, or is there kind of product offering definitely a very reliable flight? If there's no flight disruption, you will, to our customer, you will get to where you need to go. As soon as possible. And so I guess as reliably as possible. So I think that it would just be up to the client to evaluate which do they value more, whether it's ease of, for example, our client's operations, which would be great potential for growth, or low competition, or do they value more the customer experience? Because if there's a high risk of flight disruption, then they would want to avoid route two and implement route one instead. And so, but definitely I would think route three is not the way to go for our client. And so from there, I'd like to look at what maybe perhaps what our client values, what maybe what their customer base would be, or what our client would like to implement between routes one and two. Maybe more of a subjective measurement of what they would like to pursue. So any information on that? Any particular objective for our client to whether they prefer the financials or the customer experience?
Yeah, I like your takeaways. And actually, our client has identified attracting business traveler would be key to long-term growth and profitability. Please brainstorm some ideas on how your client can increase the business travelers in the next 3 years.
Great. So we want to attract business travelers. Could I take a second to come up with some ideas, or do you want to just?
Sure,
Okay, great. Thank you.
but just a few seconds.
Great. Cool. Let's see. Financial points and points and credit card, and vouchers. Great. So our client would like to attract some business travelers, especially the business travelers. So I'd split up this kind of brainstorm into two buckets. I'd like to look at some financial options and some more non-financial options for our client to implement for its travelers. So with the financial options to increase bring in some the business travelers, I'd like to maybe see if our client wants to introduce some point systems. So with more frequent flyers with our client, the customers for our client will get some points and perhaps some discounts on further flights or free flights later on, especially because business travelers will be traveling quite frequently. And so having a point system for them to rack up points quickly would help them with the return, would make it a more attractive airline for business travelers to use. As well, perhaps I'd like to partner with some credit card companies so that maybe even traveling more miles for our clients' customers, they travel more miles. Maybe they could transfer those those airline points, perhaps transfer them so you can use them for travel points or travel lounges, or use the points you build up with airlines by traveling with an airline. You could use those same points to transfer to your credit card and do all of it, like go to different restaurants or get more affordable, like maybe like purchase a car really, or just use those points for not only airplane experience, but also anything you would use a credit card with or a credit card company offering. With the non-financials, I'd like to look at perhaps the first class, business class, and economy class, perhaps increasing the experience of the business class. So maybe just adding more leg room or with the seats, or more comfortable seats in general, increasing some food and beverage options, maybe some alcohol options, or some better food options with higher quality food for our clients' customers. And maybe just investing more in the business class as a whole. So maybe privacy screens, even some extremely luxury airlines would introduce like a shower or hot towels or a coat check system, all within the business travelers experience. And finally, and also offering a better booking system. So with them scheduling a lot of flights, going all around the country, perhaps investing in a software or a better website experience for business travelers. So investing in a website experience for our business travelers to more easily book their flights. And finally, whether or not we could implement some lounges to the airports. Like, for example, I know American Airlines, sometimes they go into an airport and there's American Airline Lounge where only American Airline travelers could go into the lounge and have a relax in the lounge and while waiting for their flight. So they don't have to wait with all the other passengers. They can wait in their own airline specific lounge that's very comfortable, and maybe put them some massage chairs or something while the travelers wait. So those would be some ideas for like the financial and non-financial ways to improve and bring in more business travelers for our client.
Those are great ideas. Let me know. The CEO is coming in. What's your recommendation?
Absolutely. Could I take a second to just
Sure.
formulate a conclusion? Sure. Thanks. Great. So thank you for letting me work on this case. For your objective, Mr. CEO, of increasing profitability and keeping in mind the three-year payback period, so increasing profitability as well as market share in the American commercial airline business, I'd recommend for you to either implement the Seattle, Minneapolis route or the Fayetteville, Dallas route into your route portfolio for your route offerings. This is after conducting an analysis of the financials of each route, particularly the return of each year that that each route would bring to you and your company by first investing in how much the upfront investment cost would be, as well as how much return each route would give to ultimately come up with payback periods of 11 months for the first route and 2 years and 3 months for the second route. Some risks to this would be your goal is to bring in business travelers, and so whether or not you'd be interested more in a low competitor environment or a more stable experience for your customers with the low risk for flight delays. It would be ultimately up to I would recommend that if your goal is to bring in business travelers, would be to implement the low risk of flight disruption route of Fayetteville to Dallas. On top of that, with being able to implement the flight route, some risk would also be whether or not routes are good for business travelers. For example, Seattle, Minneapolis versus Fayetteville, Dallas. I don't know much about Fayetteville, but I can't really think of any industries that are in Fayetteville. So perhaps the Seattle, Minneapolis, just because there's more business, perhaps there would be more business people that would be interested in traveling between those two cities rather than Fayetteville. And finally, implementing some ideas for increasing the bringing in business travelers, such as some financial options of points and or booking options, and as well as some improving the business class traveler experience. And so how I'd like to move forward with this option is looking into whether or not the business travelers in Seattle, Minneapolis versus Fayetteville or Dallas, what specifically those clients and business travelers in those regions are looking for specifically. Perhaps Fayetteville, Dallas is a hotter region, and Seattle, Minneapolis is a colder region. So whether there are weather delay or weather considerations to make, but ultimately looking at business travelers in those 4 regions to determine which of the flight routes would be most attractive to bringing in those business customers you're looking for, and ultimately improving your profitability as soon as possible. So thank you. Okay, that's good.
Let's give you a round of applause. Let me know what you think.
That was great. That was great. Yeah, I mean, of course, it helped that I knew what was coming. So don't get me wrong. I knew what was coming. I missed, definitely nitpicking that I missed the math a little bit. What I did was I added 2.5 plus 3 million, and then I took 5.5. But then I thought that was the wrong number, so I added 2.5 plus 5.5 plus 1 million. So that was a bit of rushing there. Just looking at my notes in front of me, everything is just laid out quite well, so I can pick and choose everything. My structure was good. Overall, yeah, besides nitpicking of messing up a calculation here, my conclusion was all over the place, I think. At the very end, I kind of everything of recap, recommendation, reasons, and risks, they are all just kind of muddled together. So the conclusion I kind of, didn't quite stick the landing. But overall, I'm glad I made those takeaways with pros and cons of the routes. Are you looking for more kind of return? So do you want those competitors to be low, and the potential, I forgot what PFG was. I kept forgetting what I wrote for that. But then, or are you looking for a better customer experience with the low risk for flight delay? So it would be hard to enter, but do you care more about your customers, or do you care more about getting your bottom line return? So yeah, that's overall. Oh, potential for future growth. That's right, the future growth of that route. So that was actually a takeaway I didn't even look at the first time around. And so yeah, and then excluding Route 3, overall, I was just really able to see the bigger picture. But of course, it really did help that I knew what was coming. But I think this was a good, because I had forgotten the initial like kind of build up period of 3 months, 2 months, 12 months. So I included that again, and as well, I was able to make a more kind of subjective takeaway using the pros and cons rather than just like, oh, these numbers make sense, and so you should just choose either. There was more of a, okay, what kind of airline are you? What kind of priorities do you have as an airline? And so we get adapt to that. And then also at the end, just looking at Seattle and Minneapolis versus Fayetteville, Dallas. I don't know anything about Fayetteville, and so I would imagine there's not a popping industry there. But Seattle, Minneapolis, and Dallas are really huge, and so overall, just a big balance between quantitative and qualitative. I think I did a good balance of each. It's just some performance, just some little notes here and there. I kind of fell short, but overall, I think I did a great job. So yeah, back to you. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I would say, I want to say I'm so happy for you. I mean, this is absolutely a great case. But come on, calm down. Right? It's first of all, this is great, but there are still some areas that you can improve. I mean, that's excel you from great to really awesome. That's but there are some still part, but overall, that's really great. And so for the for the prompt, it's great. And for the clarifying question, it's very strong. So you not only, especially you not only ask some general question, but also, I mean, when you ask a question like, could you let me know which or what product they're offering? I mean, if you just stop there, that's a very general question and doesn't make too much sense why you ask, but you state your logic and your assumption behind it. So are they targeting a budget friendly market, or are they for a business exceptional service? I mean, that's great. That means you have a business insight. So I really like that part, and you state why you ask such questions. That's awesome. So and then moving forward for the for framework. Oh, and by the way, for this time, I mean, like, we have the goal, we want to have a great rhythm. So I noticed that the time period for every, even subcategory. So you can have you can go over with what exactly time that you spend on which part. So for the prompt and clarifying question, I would say around 3 minutes from 16 to 19. Yeah, you spend around 3 minutes. And then moving on for the framework, and you take around 80 seconds to do the frame. And then you take yeah, but you take around 6 minutes to yeah. But I mean, but I think that's okay if your framework is strong. I mean, I think that can verify the time you spend on that. And so, and I think I really like your framework. You ask the current financial external factors and some ideas to improve. Um, and if I could say, is there anything could be improved? Is you could, I mean, you could look back on the recording, but you could state your framework in a hypothesis driven way. So which means you rephrase how you express that. So for example, when you say, first I would like to understand the current financial, like I want to look at the revenue and how the ticket sales, the price, the volume, and how the food and beverage sales. And maybe you can rephrase that. So I would like to increase the revenue. Is there anything that change? So for example, that the ticket mix change, or is there have we seen a volume decrease or a food beverage sales decrease? I mean, so if you just name the bullet points and doesn't generate too much insight. So for example, when you say the cost, so I would like to understand which cost is the main driver. Do we see a substantial increase in any cost segment, like the fuel increase, maintenance increase, and why is that happening? So you put that in a question mark, and so that's would be more have more business insight in there. And so another thing is when in the lab you state about ideas how to improve it in the market shares. Um, it's always great if you put the 3 years payback period in mind, and that's super good. And but beside that, when you state the ideas, it would be better if you can structure a mini structure. So
Yeah.
and you just throw out ideas all of everywhere. So perks, attract ticket sale, you do ticket sale, budget friendly, and then you say maybe a more comprehensive travel service. I mean, those are belong to different categories. Some are, promotion strategy. Some are attracting a different segment, a very specific customer segment. So those are different ideas. If you could put that in a more structured way, that would be better. But already it's really good. I like the ideas. And then moving on, it's about exhibit 1 and 2. And you took around 3 minutes to taking notes and absorb information. So 3 minutes, and then you do a 2 minutes to do the analysis. It's and there are two things I want you to notice. So one is I don't know why, but you come to a conclusion. So you think maybe NYC to DC is a great idea when you just look at the first exhibit. And I don't know why you get that conclusion, but that's obviously that is not solid. So I don't know why you get a conclusion in the first place. I mean, this is not a get a conclusion or phase. Or if you want to say, unless this is maybe it's a good idea, but why is it that? If you didn't back up any reason of your recommendation, so I don't know why you say that. That's one thing. And just hold back your urge, to say just think before you give out any recommendation. Yeah. And yeah. And another thing is it's okay, but it would be better if you can drive the exhibit 1 to the exhibit 3 or 4. So now you have the route of non-financial or qualified analysis. And so if we want to make solid conclusion, we need some financial analysis. Do we have any financial data on that? So, but you have been repeat the sentence. Oh, there are pro and con for like 2 or 3 times, and so I pushing you to the way. So now, yeah, we have some financial data on that. But if you could say that initially, that would be great. That means you drive the case towards where it's leading. And then moving on to exhibit 3 and 4, it took another 3 minutes to taking the note and absorb information, and it took 2 minutes to structure the thought. So you do how you do the math, and your structure is very strong and it's very clear and awesome. That's great. And yeah. Oh yeah, and one very small thing. So when you read the exhibit 3, and this is upfront cost, and then you ask, do we have any data on the revenue per flight? If you could ask profit, that would be better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do we have so it's the profit matters, not just the revenue. So yeah, yeah, but just one small thing. And then about the math, it took another 3 minutes to state all your assumptions. So you took 2 minutes to do the structure, and after you do the structure, and you took like 3 minutes to structure assumption. And I really like you say, can we 365 days per year, can we take 350 because there are holidays we may not operate? I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, people usually like they run their numbers for just run the numbers, for make the math easy. But it's wonderful if you could state a reason behind why you want to run the number. I mean, that's fantastic. And then moving on, it takes 3 minutes to do the calculation, and you keep checking with me about the numbers. That's a really good habit, so I know where you are. And then after you get the number, it took 4 minutes to get the payback period. Yeah. So overall, and it got 4 minutes to get the payback period and got the 4 minutes to do the analysis. Honestly, I think the analysis a little bit too long. You scratch off the three the number the route three off at the beginning. That's good, and you compare one versus route two, and then you get the insight. So depend on what client value, and you draw a great insight. So if they value customer experience more, and they should choose route one. I mean that's a great insight. But it just I just feel like it took a little bit too long to
Yeah.
draw insight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe like 2 minutes that would be more ideal because you already know the numbers and you know there are pro and con, and it's just the pro and con you absorb in exhibit 1, 2, and plus the payback period. So it's a little bit too long. And then moving on is about the brainstorm part. The brainstorm part is yeah, it's you fall into the same pitfall as the last time. So I like the mini structure, the financial and non-financial, but all those elements or ideas you propose is about how to add customer value proposition. So how to increase the business segment customer value proposition. But even though you have awesome products, but if you don't do the marketing, and nobody know that.
Yeah.
And so it's yeah. So you have great product, you have great milk, but if you don't put on the shelf, you don't you don't give access to the customers. They won't know that you're doing such promotion. So so all the elements is about matching the customer value proposition. But what about the marketing channel? Yeah, that's another big segment that you are missing. And then finally about the recommendation, and so that is the only part I don't think it's very strong. That is the only part. um Good mini structure. So it's I mean first of all, it's really great you state the goal. I mean that's really clear. So make sure you let us to rest because you understand where we're heading and what's the problem that we're solving for. So that's great to state the goal. But your recommendation, you didn't give any. I mean, your recommendation is like either 1 or 2. I mean, that's not a recommendation. That's
Yeah.
that's I mean, it's your job to tell me 1 or 2 and why.
Yeah.
Right. And so I mean the trick part is here is I mean, so you don't have all the information that you want to know. Yeah, it'll be great if you know what customer value most, but you don't get all the pieces all pieces of information, and then you have to offer a recommendation, and you need to justify why you recommend route 1 or 2, for example. And 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 also it's not, I mean, it's not like you know nothing, because during the brainstorm part, our customer want to attract the business customers. So I mean, this is a great or this is a very important factor you need to consider when you give the final recommendation. So when you do the final recommendation, you see 1 or 2, but you didn't incorporate that much in the brainstorm. So you didn't. I mean, you still compare the 1 2 based on the exhibit 1 and 2 and the payback period. But what if you considering that we want to attract business customers? So for example, if I mean, of course, I mean, I'm not in the hot seat at this moment, so I can sit. So I have some more capacity of thinking. Uh, so if I would do the recommendation, I may recommend route two. So because I'm in Dallas and the Texas are the business centers, they're booming economy in the Southern America, and but not much happening in the Minneapolis. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, and the route two is fast growing, and the profit is larger. So in the long run, and it will generate more profit for our clients. And third, the only problem is there are high risks of disruptions. So and that's the only one thing that we need to figure out a way to
Yeah.
how to mitigate that problems. Do we offer like um comfortable overnight solutions, or can we reschedule our flights? Like maybe if there's a disruption in the morning, we can do that in the afternoon or something. Or we can think some ways to mitigate that problems. So yeah, so if so I mean this is just a one example, and you can recommend a route one um with justification. Yeah. And what else? So, and you offer some written except those are all good. So if you just can stick one choice, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
That would be great. That would be all. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, I really did. I totally agree. I did flub the conclusion. Yeah, just it was just yeah, and so much I didn't make a really great recommendation at the end. I'm like, no, we need a, this, and so yeah, yeah, overall I'm just yeah, overall this
Overall, it's great. I mean, I have to, this is awesome. I mean, it's I can see you're almost perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I just need a I just what I did I just remembered so much when we did that oil oh no that cow emissions case, that just how important that I missed the budget. I don't know if you remembered back when
Yeah.
we did the case I missed, and so now I just keep like, okay, keep in mind what the big considerations are. And so yeah, overall I'm just yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm glad you gave me the numbers for the calculation, the 1.83 million, 2 million. So that was helpful. But yeah, overall, yeah, this was super cool. I'm happy with this a lot. So yeah, yeah, just it's always clean it up. But yeah, cool. Any other thoughts, Ellen? Otherwise, yeah, I cool. This was cool. Yeah.
I think. Oh yeah, I think that is for today. It's really a rewarding feeling for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that your business insight is getting way much better than
Thank you.
2 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Also you made a great point about that route too, about like, oh, the only real issue is that risk of flight delay. And so if there's any way to mitigate that, we can't control the weather, but with some rescheduling options. But yeah, overall, yeah, just gosh, I mean, the thing with like this kind of business stuff, right, is, there's no ceiling for how well you can do this. We can just get better, 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 but yeah, this was really cool. So yeah. Anyways, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Nothing about the Friday practice. For me, I'm considering doing the M&A case. So if we could do a two M&A framework and one analysis, that would be great.
Okay. Okay, two M&A framework and one M&A analysis, right?
Oh, and by the way, so you share with me a framework for the M&A. It's like the standard framework for M&A. It's like the market, target company, and synergy and risk, right?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, like operational kind of, like, because you know what I mean? Like yeah, you need a lot less HR people. You have to kind of gut them. Or just some operation.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, it's like when you like, for example, like a big thing is like for example, like even emails, or like one company uses AWS, the other company uses Microsoft Azure. You know what I mean? Like even just like I think Eric told me once, even changing from like Gmail to Yahoo Mail is a huge pain in the butt, right? So let alone an entire company uses AWS versus an entire company uses Microsoft Azure. That's just a complete nightmare of an operational kind of change, you know? So stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to let me know? I mean, because we still have 4 minutes about
Yeah.
the M&A you would like to share. And
Um,
you have done so many M&A cases, so I value your insight.
yeah. Thank you. I don't know. Gosh, I mean, no, I would say it's like it's like not that it's straightforward, but the core of it's the same. It's just that with every single industry, it's like all different, right? Whether it's like, merge it's like KFC merging with Taco Bell. I don't know if you ever see those around. Like that kind of M&A is so much different than in a lot of ways, so much different than, for example, a software, or like IBM acquiring Redfin. Like the exact details of each are just so different. But at the core of it, yeah, it's like is IBM's trying to see what Redfin is like as a company, and so the target versus what synergies could they have. Taco Bell and KFC, they can synergize the empty space in their restaurants to merge them together. So it's like synergy, the target company, and like like budget, for example, like with the operational risk and all that stuff. So the core of each M&A case is pretty similar, but it's about being really customized and like having an idea of what you would consider synergy wise or operational wise for each case and for each so that's where the really tricky part is, because it is all synergies, it is all analyzing the financials, it is all operational stuff, but underneath that, right, like you can't what are some of the like the custom kind of specifics that you could think of with each one. So yeah, in a lot of ways that's similar to all cases, right? Like there is, with profitability, profit margin cases, cost cutting, variable fixed. But again, you could take all of those to like next level. Yeah. So yeah,
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
cool.
for the information. So
Okay.
yeah, take care. Have
Yeah, no,
a great day.
so Friday we'll do two M&A frameworks and one M&A analysis, right?
Yeah, just pick one analysis that within the framework that we already opened.
Cool. Actually, yeah, Eric and I, our very first case practice was an M&A case, so maybe I'll just take that one. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
great.
Great. This was seriously awesome, Ellen. I was honestly considering just canceling this. I was so afraid of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, but I'm so glad we end up doing this. So yeah, thank you, really. So
And it turns out you're great.
cool. All right, well, I'll see you on Friday then. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
see you.
and by the way, let's do this again where, when we start, let's call first so that we can just jump right in. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
All right, Ellen. Yep, I'll see you. All right. Bye.